Fantastic. Well, hello everyone. It is so nice to see you today. I am Miss Frizzle, and today we are going to be learning about one of my favorite topics, outer space and the solar system. So I know some of you already know about a little bit about outer space and the solar system. So I want to ask you before we even get started, what do we find in space? What's out there in space? What kind of things do we know about space? What do we find out there? Who has any ideas about what we find in outer space? Does anyone know what's out there? What kind of things do we find out there in space? What things do you know about? Yes, Anna and Benjamin, what do you find out in space?
Stars.
Stars. Stars are definitely one thing. What else do we find out in space? Yes.
Space rocks.
We can find space rocks, absolutely. What else? Anna, what else do we find out there?
What do you find? Moon.
We could find the moon out there, absolutely. And Landon said planets, right? Anything else? What else do we find out there? Presley, do you know what we find out in space? What other kind of things we find out there? What else might we find out in space? No, that's okay. We don't have to have any answers. What do you think? Benjamin and Anne have something else they thought about. What else do we think? Oh, 1 second. I want to make sure I can hear you. There we go. Go ahead.
So asteroids.
Asteroids. That's a great one. And what else, Anna?
Stars.
Stars. Lots of stars, right? What about comets, right? Or black holes? We can find all of those things out in space, right? Space is pretty big. We don't even know how big it really is, right? We're constantly discovering, scientists, right, and astrologists are constantly finding new and exciting things out in space, right? Which means space is even bigger than we ever thought it could be, right? We keep finding new things out there, right? Now, out in space, we also have something called the solar system. Does anyone know what the solar system is? Yes, Benjamin and Anna, what is the solar system? Oh, 1 second. Oh, there we go. Okay, go ahead.
A group of planets and moons.
It is a group of planets. That's exactly right. So the solar system is made up of planets, right? A collection of 8 planets, in fact, and they're moons that orbit around something. Do you know what they orbit around?
The sun. The sun.
That's right. They all orbit around the sun, right? Now, together with some smaller bodies in the form of asteroids, meteoroids, comets, things like that, they also circle in our solar system, right? Now, all of these planets orbit around the sun and 93 million miles away from us. But in fact, light only takes 8 minutes to travel to us here on Earth. So it's 93 million miles away, but that light from the sun only takes 8 minutes to get to us. Isn't that amazing? So it's almost like the light that we're seeing is 8 minutes behind, right? It's been shining for 8 minutes before we even get to see it. How crazy is that, right? Isn't that amazing? Now, today, we're going to learn about the solar system and the planets that make it up. So we're going to need some supplies to do that. So you should have all received a template. It says planets on it, and it has our planets and also the sun. Now, the sun is not technically a planet. It's what? What is the sun?
Star.
The sun is. It is. It's a star. That's right. The sun is a big star, right? The biggest star we have, right? So we have our sun and then our planets, right? They've all been labeled for us, right? But we're going to go ahead and as we go through each planet, we'll go ahead and color them in. All right. That way we get a little bit of information about each planet. I'm going to ask you to if you know anything about each of these planets as we go. All right. If you don't, that's okay because we'll learn something new together. Now we'll color in each of these planets, and then once we've colored them all in and we've spoken about each of our planets, we're going to need 2 paper plates. All right. We'll also need some string, doesn't matter what size. We'll need some tape and a grown-up's help to go ahead and make some holes in our plate. All right. And that's just about it. So nice and simple, okay? Now we're going to start with the smallest planet in our solar system, the one closest to the sun, which is, does anyone know?
Me.
Yes, yeah.
Mercury.
Mercury, that's exactly right. Mercury is the smallest planet, and it was named after the Roman messenger to the gods, Mercury, right? Now, does anyone know anything special about Mercury? What color it is? Anything else we know about Mercury? Daniel, you seem to know quite a lot about our solar system. So, Daniel, what do you know about Mercury?
It's freezing cold.
It is very cold, right? It's pretty cold. And it's got lots of ice on there, right? Now, if we are going to, hello, friends, welcome, new friends. We have some new friends here. Hold on one second. We're going to pause our lesson on Mercury. What is your name, my friend?
Wayne.
Hello, it's so nice to see you. I'm so glad that you're here. We're just starting our lesson about outer space and our solar system. We talked about how in space we find things like stars and planets and asteroids and comets and black holes, and our solar system made up of planets, right? So we just got started talking about our very first planet in the solar system, Mercury, which we said is the smallest planet. And it's named after the Roman messenger to the gods. And it's pretty cold, right? And if we're going to compare it, let's decide if we have a scale. So we're going to think about our planets in relation to some food today, okay? So things like apples, oranges, grapes, right? We know how big those things are. Mercury, in relation to all of those objects, would be the size of a peppercorn, which is about this big. So small, right? Really tiny, tiny little circle, right? About the size of a peppercorn today. Okay, so think about that. When we go to the next planet, we're going to talk about that in relation to our peppercorn, and we're going to see about how much bigger it might be. So Mercury is the color gray. It's kind of a gray color because it's dark, cold, icy, right? Mercury is also the smallest planet, but it's kind of a gray color. So I want you to pick your favorite gray color and go ahead and color Mercury, our smallest planet up here, a gray color. All right. And that's our very first planet. We've covered our first planet in the solar system, right? Fantastic. Now, we also have the second planet in our solar system. There are 8 of them. So we're going to go on to the second planet. I'm going to give everyone just a moment to go ahead and color in their Mercury. Give everyone a moment, color in with some gray colors if you've got them. Perfect, Blaine. Great. Wonderful. Everybody's given some colors. Fantastic. And we're going to go on to our second planet in the solar system. Does anyone know what that second planet is? Yes, Daniel knows. What is that second planet in our solar system?
Venus.
Venus, that's right. So, Daniel, what do you know about Venus? What are some fun facts you might know about Venus? Do you know anything special about Venus? Besides it being the second.
It's kind of hot and kind of cold.
It can be, right? It has a little bit of everything. What else do you know, Landon? What do you know about Venus?
It has a storm called the red spot.
It certainly does, right? It does. That's very cool. It's a great thing. Right now, it spins in the opposite direction from most planets. Isn't that interesting, right? So while most planets spin this way, Venus doesn't want to follow what they do. It spins the other way, right? And it's actually the second brightest object in the sky. Do you know what the first brightest object in the sky is? It's the second brightest. What's the first? Does anyone want to take a guess? Landon, what do you think? What's the first brightest object in the sky?
The sun.
And it's a great guess. It's actually not. There is something else that's even brighter. What do you think, Blaine?
The sun.
That's a great guess. It's not the sun, but there's something even brighter. We see it in the sky every night. What do you think, Daniel?
The moon.
The moon. That's right. It's the moon.
It's David.
Oh, David, I'm sorry, David. Thank you, David, for correcting me. Fantastic. That's right. It's the moon, right? The moon is actually the brightest object in the sky. That's why we can see it every night. Isn't that amazing? Right? Now, Venus has no moons, and it's hidden by clouds of sulfuric acid. So there's lots of clouds up there. But because it's so bright, sometimes we can see it in the sky on certain nights, on really clear nights when it's in the right position, right? Now, in terms of objects, comparing it to Mercury, we said was the size of a peppercorn. Venus is going to be about the size of a cherry tomato. So about this big, right? A cherry tomato, right? We know what a cherry tomato looks like, right? Who here eats cherry tomatoes? Do we like cherry tomatoes? They're kind of delicious, right? Absolutely. So the size of a cherry tomato. So we can compare Mercury to Venus, right? That's a pretty big difference, isn't it? Now imagine that times 1,000, right? And that's how big our planets are, right? That's pretty amazing, though. Can you imagine a planet that big, right? Well, even better than that, we have other planets that are even bigger than that. Can you imagine how much bigger they can get, right? Should we find out? All right, now Venus is kind of a brown gray color, right? Brown and gray. Not so pleasant, but about the same kind of colors. In Venus, see these kind of clouds here, these stripes that are on Venus? Those are the clouds we're seeing, right? So it's kind of a brown and gray color, right? Yeah. So go ahead and pick some browns and grays. You might use the same gray you used for Mercury. Go ahead and color in some browns and grays on Venus. Great work, everybody. All right, now we have our third planet in the solar system, and this one is my personal favorite. Does anyone know what the third planet in the solar system might be? All right, David and Benjamin, what is that third planet in the solar system?
Earth, Jupiter.
Oh, that's right. It is the Earth, right? Earth, it's my personal favorite. Earth, because we live here. And in fact, it's the only planet in the solar system with human life, as far as we know, right? Now, Earth is about the size of a cherry tomato also, right? Or a cherry, right? So about the same size as Venus, pretty close anyway. And in fact, the name Earth is derived from an old English word meaning soil, because we have lots of soil and things like that on Earth, right? Soil and Earth. And also made up of, we have water and land, right? 70% of the Earth is covered in water, bodies of water, right? The different oceans we have, right? All of that. So 70% of the Earth is covered up in water. And the rest, that 30%, is land, right? Where we live. Now, do you know any fun facts about the Earth? Does anyone know any fun facts about the Earth? Or anything that you'd like to share about the Earth? Yes, Benjamin. Oh, there we go. Go ahead now.
It has cities.
There are cities on the Earth, absolutely. What else do we know, David?
It's the closest planet to the sun.
It's not the closest planet to the sun, because Mercury is going to be the closest planet, but it's pretty close, right? It's the third planet in our solar system, absolutely. What else do you know, Anna?
Night.
Yeah, we love it here, right? That's where we live, right? So it's pretty special. And what else, Landon? What do you know about the Earth?
So far, it's the only place of life.
It is, yes. Well, human life anyway, right? There are possibly some plants and things growing on some other planets, right? And bacteria, maybe some amoebas, things like that. Some smaller life, but human life is the only one on Earth, right? It's the only planet that has human life as far as we know, right? We haven't found anything else out there. So we're pretty sure we're the only planet with human life. What else do we know about Earth? Anything else? Hello, new friend. How are you? What is your name?
Okay, say it again.
Now it's
Hello, it's very nice to meet you. We're so glad that you're here. So we're talking about our solar system. We're just starting and finishing up talking about our planet Earth, right? The planet that we live on, which is pretty special, right? Now, Earth, I think you all kind of know what colors Earth are. What colors are Earth and why? What color is the Earth, David and Benjamin?
Okay, try again.
blue and green.
Blue and green. And why is that?
The blue is the water, green is the land.
That's exactly right. So our friend the Earth here, we have a picture here. Now this is North and South America that's showing here. So around this is blue. And then North and South America that they're showing here would be green, right? So we can go ahead and color those two things in, blue and green, right? So go ahead and pick your colors. If you have them, go ahead and color that in. Now, if you don't have this template, that's okay too. We're going to learn about space either way, and you're going to have a great time. So we don't need our craft if you don't have it. That's totally okay. We can learn about space either way. But if you have it, that's great. Go ahead and have fun coloring as well. Fantastic, everyone. All right, now the fourth planet in our solar system. Does anyone know the fourth planet? David, what is the fourth planet in our solar system?
Is it Jupiter?
That's a great guess. It's not Jupiter, not yet. You're really close. And let's see. Yes, my friend. Go ahead. What is the fourth planet in our solar system?
Mars.
Mars, that's right. It's Mars, right? Mars is the fourth planet in our solar system. Now, Mars, similar to Earth, water covers about 70% of the surface, right? And the surface gravity on Mars, now this is a little confusing, but the surface gravity on Mars is about 37% of the gravity here on Earth, which means, in theory, you could jump about 3 times higher on Mars than you can on Earth. Can you imagine jumping 3 times higher than you can here? How amazing is that, right? 3 times higher than you can on Earth. Isn't that incredible? Right? I think so too. Now, there's also the tallest mountain on the solar system, which is on Mars, called Olympus Mons, and it's actually an active volcano. It could erupt one day, right? Isn't that amazing? And it's the tallest mountain in all of our solar system. Now, Mars was named after the god of war in Roman times, and it's about the size of a blueberry in relation to our peppercorn, our cherry tomato. So it's bigger than our peppercorn and smaller than our cherry tomato, right? Now, Mars can be found right here. This is our friend Mars, right? Now, Mars is kind of a red, brown, and tan color, right? Kind of all 3 of those colors. And you can kind of combine them together. It's kind of a mix of those reds, browns, and grays, right? Browns and tans, right? So you can kind of combine those colors and create your Mars in those 3 colors, right? That is the fourth planet in our solar system, right? Amazing, right? Isn't it interesting how different each of these planets are, right? Isn't that incredible? It's so interesting to see how different they really are, right? Well done, everybody. Very good coloring. I see lots of great colors here. Now, the 5th planet in our solar system. This one, David, I want you to tell us because you know this one, that 5th planet in our solar system is?
Jupiter.
Jupiter. There we go. That's right. Now, Jupiter is, just like Mercury is the smallest, Jupiter is the biggest, right? Jupiter is the biggest planet in our solar system. The Earth, think about this. The Earth can fit inside of Jupiter 1,000 times. 1,000 Earths. Can you imagine that? 1,000 Earths inside Jupiter. How incredible is that, right? Now, Jupiter is also a really great comet catcher, and it has a very faint ring system, right? Which we can see on our, it doesn't really show it, right? We have Jupiter over here, right? Jupiter's up here, right? It has a very faint ring system because we don't really see it so much. It's not big rings like our friend Saturn over here, right? Just a faint ring system and at least 67 moons. Can you imagine seeing 67 moons in the sky, right? We have how many moons here on Earth? How many moons do we have? 1, right? Can you imagine having 67 of them? How amazing would that be? Would that be crazy? I think so, right? But Jupiter has 67 moons of its own, right? And in relation to all those other fruits we've been talking about, Jupiter would be the size of a watermelon, right? I know. So a watermelon compared to our friend, the blueberry, right? Or the peppercorn, the size of Mercury, right? Mercury is the smallest, a size of a peppercorn. Jupiter, the biggest, the size of a watermelon. Isn't that incredible? That's pretty big, huh? Now, Jupiter is a couple of different colors, right? It's kind of a brown, orange, tan, and it's got some white cloud stripes. So these stripes here are kind of more white a little bit because it's got some clouds right on there. Those faint rings that we talked about are kind of a cloud almost, those very faint rings, right? Jupiter, right, is the biggest we talked about. So Jupiter is halfway between the sun and the end of the solar system, right? That's right. So it's a brown, orange, tan with some white stripes, white clouds. All right. So you can go ahead and color those in as you go. Great work, everyone. All right. Now we have 3 more planets to talk about. The next planet is one of my favorites too. Does anyone know what planet this might be? What is the next planet in our solar system? We've talked about Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and Jupiter. And the next is what? Go ahead, my friend. Yes.
What's after Jupiter?
Saturn?
Saturn, that's right. Saturn is the next planet in our solar system, right? Now, Saturn, we talked about, has rings, right? So our friend Saturn over here has these big rings. Now, these rings are made almost entirely of ice, right? They're made up almost entirely of ice. Now, they have the fastest winds as well, right? Saturn has pretty fast winds, right? Which is probably why it's so cold there, right? Also because it's pretty far from the sun, right? And Jupiter is so huge, it probably blocks a lot of the light, right? And it's named after the father of Jupiter, Saturn, right? So it's a relative in mythology or in Roman times, right? These planets were mostly named after gods, right? Roman gods, Greek gods, right? So Saturn is a relative of Jupiter, right? They were discovered, they're right next to each other in the solar system, right? Now, Saturn, we talked about, is kind of golden and brown and also a little bit of blue-gray in there, right? A little bit of blue-gray because of the ice that we're seeing, right? So Saturn has these ice rings, right? So our planet is kind of a golden and brown, but also a blue-gray in there. So you can kind of pick out which colors you want to do. Now, it's okay because it's not going to be exact, and especially when things kind of change, right? We see the Earth might be changing. We might see some more water in certain places. Maybe some lakes have dried up, right? So that happens too on the other planets as well. You can see that, right? Very good. So go ahead and pick out your goldens, your browns, and your blue-grays. All right. And go ahead and color that in. Fantastic job. Now we have 2 more planets. Does anyone know what those last 2 planets might be? Yes.
What are they?
What? Uranus
Yes.
and Sun.
Uranus and one more.
Neptune.
Neptune. There we go. That's right. Uranus and Neptune. Now, Uranus or Uranus, right, is our coldest planet. That's the next planet in our solar system. And it's very stormy there. There's a lot of storms, right? Now, Uranus is about 84 Earth days to orbit the sun. It takes 84 Earth days just to orbit the sun, right? Now, how long does it take us to orbit the sun? How long does it take the Earth to orbit the sun? Anyone? Landon, what do you think?
365 days.
That's exactly right. 1 year, 365 days or 1 year, right? So Uranus can orbit the sun in 84 days, right? That's pretty amazing. And it actually lies sideways, interestingly enough, right? Which is why we see it here a little sideways, because it lies a little sideways, right? And its moons, interestingly enough, it has some moons and they're named after Shakespeare characters. Does anyone know who Shakespeare was? Who is Shakespeare?
You tell her who you think it is.
Astronaut.
Well, that's a great guess. He is not an astronaut. He is an author and a playwright, right? Now, he lived in England and he wrote some amazing plays. Tell me if you've heard of them. Have you heard of Romeo and Juliet? Yes, raise your hand if you've heard of that one. Yes. What about Hamlet? Have you heard about that one? Yes. What about Macbeth? Have you heard of that one? I can say that because I am not in the theater. Now, don't say that one in a theater. If you're in a theater, don't say the name Macbeth. That's superstitious, right? What about, has anyone heard about A Midsummer Night's Dream? Now, some of those moons are named after characters from that play, like Oberon and Titania, right? The moons are named after that, which is pretty amazing, right? Isn't that incredible? Those are pretty cool names, right, for a moon, don't you think? And Uranus is the father of Saturn, and in relation to our other planets is about the size of an apple, right? Pretty incredible, right? And here's Uranus, our friend Uranus right here. And Uranus is a blue-green color, right? Kind of a blue-green color, lying slightly sideways on its axis, right? Yes. And our final planet is Neptune, right? We learned about Neptune. Now, Neptune orbits the sun once every, who wants to take a guess how long it takes Neptune to orbit the sun? What do we think? How long?
You tell her what you think.
1,600 days.
1,600 days. That's a good guess. And what do we think? Who else has an idea of how long it takes Neptune to orbit the sun? What do you think? David, what do you think? How long does it take Neptune to orbit the sun?
A month.
A month. That's a good guess. Who else has an idea? It's a little higher than that. What do you think, Benjamin?
Okay.
2 months.
2 months. And what do you think, Anna? Do you want to take a guess on how long it takes Neptune to orbit the sun?
Take a guess, baby. No.
All right, if you're not sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Anyone else want to take a guess on how long it takes Neptune to orbit the sun? Yes.
Try again. What else?
52 million days.
52 million days. Well, you're getting closer for sure. Neptune orbits the sun once every 165 years. 165 years to orbit the sun. Isn't that incredible? Right? Can you imagine that? We orbit the sun once every 365 days, but Neptune takes 165 years just to orbit the sun once, right? Now, it also has supersonic winds, right? And spins very quickly and has 14 moons, which is pretty incredible, right? And Neptune right here is kind of a blue color, just a blue. And in relation to all the other planets, it's on the smaller side, right? Now, in order for us to remember all our planets, there's what's something called an acronym, where you take the first letter of each planet and put it together to form a sentence. So my favorite sentence is, my very educated mother just served us nachos, right? And that helps me remember the order of the planets, right? That helps me remember the planets go Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, right? And that helps me remember. Now, our solar system is also part of the Milky Way galaxy, which is comprised of stars, right? That's part of the galaxy. Now, I'm going to show us a quick video, too, about our solar system. And it's going to kind of talk a little bit more about what we've already learned about. but I'm going to show that to you so that we can have a little bit more information about our solar system. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that you can see what I'm seeing. And we're going to have a little video about our solar system.
Hello everyone. Today we're going to learn about the solar system. As you know, the sun is a star, one of many stars that form the Milky Way. But for us, it's the most important star shining in the sky. Planets move around the sun, and so do comets and asteroids. Well, the sun and everything that revolves around it is what we call the solar system. The most interesting things that we should know about the solar system are the planets. Let's look at them. Starting with the ones closest to the sun and then getting further away. The closest planet to the sun is Mercury. Then there is Venus. Then comes the Earth, yes, our planet where we live. Then there is Mars. Jupiter, the largest planet. Saturn. Uranus. And then the furthest away is Neptune. As you can see, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars are closer to the Sun and also smaller than Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. One important thing you should know is that the journey that all planets make around the Sun is called an orbit. Now a question. Do you know where the days of the week get their names from? Well, if we think about it for a minute, the moon, which is not actually a planet itself, but Earth's natural satellite, gives its name to Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday come from ancient British gods that were related to the planets Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, and Venus. Saturday gets its name from Saturn, and of course the sun itself gives us the name Sunday. So if you remember that there is also Uranus, Neptune, and our own Earth, then you know all the names of the 8 planets in the solar system. Easy, eh? Goodbye for now, everyone, and don't forget to subscribe to Happy Learning.
Fantastic, friends. So we learned just a little bit more about our solar system and those planets. And interestingly enough, where our days of the week come from, right? From our planets, which is pretty interesting, right? Now, from Earth, of course, we can see constellations or groupings of stars, right? And if the sky is clear enough, we can even see some of these planets in our solar system, right? Now, by now we should have our planets mostly colored in, right? Fantastic job, Anna. I see some of those planets. So what we're going to do now is we're going to cut those planets out. So we're going to have a grown-up help us if we need to. We'll cut out our planets. All right. Fantastic. Great job, Blaine. Great work. All right. So we're going to cut out those planets. Now, we're going to take one of our paper plates. All right. We're going to turn it as if we're eating off of it. Right. We're going to. All right. Now, our grown-up is going to help us to make some holes in this plate. So I like to start right in the middle, and that's going to be for our sun, right? Our sun stands in the middle of our solar system, right? That's what everything orbits around. So our sun is going to start right in the middle of that plate. We're going to make a little hole there. If you want to map it out first before you make all those holes, we're going to start with our sun in the center, right? Now we know that the next planet is our friend Mercury, right? So Mercury is going to come a little bit outside of our sun, a little bit to the side. We're going to make another hole there, right? And we'll do the same with all of the rest of our planets. We're going to make 9 holes because there's 8 planets in the sun, right? 9 holes in our plate, right? To go around our plate, right? And then we're going to attach our planet to our string. So something like this. I have my sun here attached to a piece of string, right? My sun attached to the string, right? Just like so. Oh, there's my friend We've got our friends Venus joining us now. Venus decided it wanted to be part of this. So we've got our sun, and we're going to attach each one to our string. Okay. Now, once we have our planets all attached to our string, what we're going to do is thread them through our plate to the other side and just tape a little piece to hold it in there, right? So you can see I have my thread for the sun, and then Mercury, Venus, Mars, right? All of those planets, right? And then when we finish with that, we have them all taped in, we have something that looks like this. Our solar system, right? So we can see all of our planets as they rotate, right? Now, they're not going to move the same way that our planets do, but it allows us to see where they all are in the solar system, right? So we can see our sun and the next closest one right here, our friend Mercury, the smallest of our planets, right? And we can see as they get a little closer, further away, right? We know here's our friend the Earth, Mars, right? All of our planets who orbit around the sun, right? And that gives us a way to see how big they are in relation to each other and the sun, and how far away they all are. So we can see Neptune is the furthest away over here, right? And once you've finished with that, you can go ahead and take your second plate to put it right on top. That way we don't see all of those strings there. But our second plate will go right on top. And then you can go ahead and, if you want to punch one more hole through the top of that, you can hang it just like so, right? Our mobile. And this allows us to see our amazing solar system, right? Which is pretty amazing, don't you think? I love learning. I think that's my favorite. Now, I want to show you too, my favorite part of my dress, which of course, I think I have to show you all. I have our friend, the sun here. I also have Saturn over here, the moon and the stars, and of course, our friend, the Earth, right? Who has a smiley face on him, which is my favorite part, which I think you can tell learning about space and the solar system is one of my absolute favorite parts of learning, right? Now, friends, I want to thank you all for joining me. Do you have any questions before we say so long for today? Yes. Go ahead.
Do you want to see what ours look like?
I would love to.
Ours didn't have the string coming.
Oh, but that looks amazing. You did a great job. So we can see all our planets. That looks beautiful. I love that. You did a great job on that.
Didn't come with it.
Well, that's okay. But I think that looks fantastic because you've got all of your planets all around and you can see which ones are further and closer away. You did a great job there. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing it with me. It looks fantastic. Well done, everybody. You all did such an amazing job today, and thank you so much for joining me as we learned about the solar system today. I hope that you had as much fun as I did. Did we all have fun today? Did we all learn something new? Yes, I'm so happy to hear it. Now, if you think of anything else you want to share with me, or if you learn anything else about space that we didn't get the chance to talk about, you can always write me a letter. And Miss Kate knows where to find me, so she'll make sure that you have my address of my classroom. That way you can send it to me, or maybe one day I'll even come and stop by, right? I do have a Magic School Bus, of course, and maybe one day you'll get to join me. So what do you think? Is that a good idea, everybody? I think so too. All right, friends, I want to thank you so much for joining me today and for joining me to learn about our solar system. I had the most wonderful time, and I can't wait to see you all again soon. So thank you so much for joining me, and enjoy your beautiful mobiles. And every time you see that, I guess you'll think of this lesson, right? Maybe you'll learn some new things along the way. So thank you all again for joining me, and I hope to see you again in the future. So long, everyone. See you soon. Bye, everybody.